I've just got off of an interview with Dr. Johnathan Reed, and this is by far, I mean, I've interviewed quite a few different types of people on this channel regarding UFOs and aliens, and let me tell you, this story is absolutely mind-blowing. If you don't know about Dr. Johnathan Reed, he went into the forest with his dog in 1996 and encountered an alien as well as a UFO. And he videoed this as well as took photographs. He took this alien home with him. Whether you believe it or not, I'm going to leave that up to you. Throughout this interview, I'm going to be popping in the video footage, the photos and things like that, so you can see exactly what he saw, or what he claims to see, okay? I really hope that you enjoy this interview as much as I did. Please keep the comments respectful. Let me know whether you believe in it or not. I'll be really interested. And also his new documentary, I'm going to be leaving the link in the description and in the comments, okay? So make sure you go and check that out. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the interview.
When this first happened to me, I was not into science fiction.
Years, 3 decades since the silence of the Pacific Northwest forest was shattered by a story that refused to die.
What happened to the alien?
It could actually be real, legit.
This is legit alien footage.
A story of a man, a discovery, and a truth that lay beyond the stars.
Would you play the sound for us once again, please?
Yes, I will.
This is the case of Dr. Johnathan Reed.
This is what so many people try to say doesn't exist.
He found something not of this earth, an extraterrestrial being, and with it, a technology that defied human understanding.
I didn't believe in any of this at all, but yet I couldn't deny what was happening to me.
So I ended up just opening the thermal blanket and wrapping the body up into it. I'll show you the videotape. I said the body's in the garage. But again, the proof was in the freezer. The entity that I call Freddy is in constant communication with me. It has to do with things that are happening now and that are going to be happening soon.
This is I suppose my first question, okay? I want to know what you're a doctor in, where you got your doctor from, when you got it.
Okay. Well, way back in 1970, I started my college education. And that started at a university in Southern California called San Diego State University. I graduated there with an education teaching degree, not knowing what I was going to do. Then I got lucky, transferred to UCLA, got into their pre-med program and their PhD program in psychology. And then I graduated from there and went up in 79, went up to the University of Washington Medical School, went to medical school there, graduated, and worked in the medical facility at the University of Washington Medical Institute. And so my degree is in developmental psychiatrics, child development. That's like pediatric studies, but concentrating on kids and their crazy parents.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, probably quite a lot of them you've had to deal with, eh?
I did. I had a good run. I worked for almost 16 years before my situation happened. And after that, I had to walk away from it, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah, for sure. So would you prefer to be called Dr. Reed or Johnathan or John?
Johnathan.
Right, okay. So, first of all, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this, because this now this must be such a huge life-changing episode that you went through. It's like there must be so many emotions, so many emotions that you must want to just shout out. So I'm glad that we've got this opportunity to speak up, because I covered this story, like, it was a 20-minute or a half an hour video, I think maybe about 2 years ago, and I was mesmerized by it. I was just like blown back. I was like, oh my god. And back then I was I'm still new to it all, to be fair, but I was extremely new to UFOs, aliens. It's always interested me, but when I saw this, I was like, this is it. Like, we've cracked it,
Well, let me tell you first, I was never into this. I was not into ufology. I was not into lights in the sky. In fact, I wasn't even really into science fiction.
Right.
I was a doctor. I was a medical doctor. So everything I did was based in science. And working in a hospital, in an institute, where that was my hands-on 9-to-9 job, 6 days a week. And I loved my work. I was good at it. I had a really good practice. I had good people that I was working with. I finally made head of the department. And so I was doing the dream, as they say. But regarding what happened on October 15th, 1996, I went for a morning, afternoon day hike with my dog, Susie, a 7-year-old golden retriever who was always with me. I mean, I took her to work. I drove her in the car. I mean, she was probably more liked than I was. But,
yeah.
She was a great companion dog, and kids loved her, and it helped to break down some of those inhibitions with kids. But she was a great dog. So I took her on this hike. We left Seattle at about 11:30 and drove to the mountains, which is about 55 minutes away. We had been there before, parked my Jeep, got out, started walking down this abandoned logging road, with ferns and trees and everything growing around. There were deer, raccoons, squirrels, everything in the air. And it was a beautiful, beautiful fall day. So everything was fine. And Susie would run out off the leash, not on the leash, and this was a great place for dogs to run. And then she'd come back and she'd chase a squirrel or whatever and bark, 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 and then she'd come back. So, but she was not an aggressive dog. She was a very obedient, calm, loving mate.
Yeah, because
I call her.
You've fair enough. You probably would have been on your own in the forest, or not near many people. But you're still, if you're comfortable, like leaving your dog off the chain, and also interacting with children as well. It's got to be a calm, well trained dog, right?
Yeah, she was great. Really smart, really calm, and probably calmer than I was. But on this day, walking down this same path, this same trail that we had been to many times before, we saw a couple of deer walking through the path. She kind of started to run up to them. I said, "Hey, Susie," and she stopped and just let them go. So she was obedient. And but it was a nice day, really good day for this. And
so can I just, because you did say to me, I'm going to pre-warn the audience. You did say to me, if anything pops up in my head, please interrupt you, right?
Yes. Please do.
Because I want to. We could do this in a very quick way, but with my with my understanding, with my head, I would like to know certain things that might not sound normal to everyday questions, right?
Yes,
But maybe, can I ask you, was there any particular dream or something that you had the night before? Were you feeling any particular way? Any headaches? Any sort of, were you feeling particularly good? No, nothing?
Nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, this was a normal work week.
Uh-huh.
I had a bunch of cancellations, and I thought, okay, it's sunny out. I'm going to go. And so I took Susie, got her in the car. We left, drove up to the mountains, and got out and started walking. Like I said, same place we'd been before. Saw a couple of people where I parked my Jeep. So it wasn't isolated. It was, there were few other people that I saw, like 4, a couple people coming out of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
But we just started walking. And as we did, like I said, nothing was out of the ordinary. Nothing seemed different. Everything seemed fine. I had a day pack with a little dog food, a thermal blanket, a couple of cameras, a candy bar, a pocket knife. That was it. Okay? Because, I wasn't planning on staying long.
Mm.
And we, figured to be a couple hours for the whole thing. And anyway, as we walked, Susie would run out and be out of sight because there's a lot of underbrush in this area where they can, a lot of rises and falls. And, I could hear her, but I couldn't see her. But everything was fine. But after we had been walking for about an hour, she took off running and barking, and everything was cool. But all of a sudden, the barking changed. And if you've ever had a dog, you get to know their voice.
Mm.
You get to understand that if they're just barking, having fun, it's more of a light sound. But if it's growling or snarling, then something else is happening. And it started to sound like that. It sounded like something maybe had treed her. And we have bears and we have cats, wild cats, and mountain lions, all that kind of stuff. But generally, they stay clear of humans, So I was right. Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
But yes, it was aggressive enough to where I thought, oh, maybe she's found a bear cub or something like that. And I thought, okay, I'll try to get her back. And I called to her, and she didn't come. And that was my first indication that something was different. And because she didn't aggressively come back. And so I went faster up the rise in this walk. And I thought, well, maybe I'm going to have to detangle her from a wildcat or a little bear or something. So I picked up a large branch, just a fallen branch that had no foliage on it, about the size of a large, extra long baseball bat.
Okay. Yeah.
So, club, kind of but long, probably 6-8 feet long. And I figured I'd detangle her, once I found her. So I kept calling her and listening to the bark, and the barking started becoming a yelp.
Right.
An aggressive cry sound. Like there was definitely something going wrong. So I hurried up the path, kept calling her, kept trying to vector in where she was because I could not see her. But I could hear that I was very close. So I got to a point in the rise and I decided I would just jump down through this brush, about 6-8 feet of brush, down a hill, quite a steep hill, and see from there. So I did that, landed, and at that moment, I saw my dog being thrown like this over the head of this little creature, this little small 5-foot dark creature. And it was being thrown so fast. You know what a paint shaker is? When you go to a hardware store.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It just rumbles, right?
It was that fast in shaking where I couldn't even see my dog. Well, I could not even see the arm.
How big is your dog? What type of dog have you got?
Golden retriever, 80 pounds. 80 pounds. and this thing was throwing my dog, up in the air as fast as I could put my arm back and forth. And it was insane. Let me tell you,
that must have been like, it's weird because I don't like fast moving wobbly things, right? It freaks me out.
And
like,
I couldn't tell what this thing that was throwing her back and forth was. It was childlike in size. Okay, very small, very dark. There was a dark canopy, tree canopy, and it was a little bit of a gray day. And I thought, what is this? And then all of a sudden, while I'm watching, happening within seconds, its arm extended a part of its suit, like another arm, came on top of her head, and it tore my dog's head right out of her backbone. And as that was happening, she was screaming. She was screaming and dying. And then as he pulled her apart, she just turned into this white ash, like ash from your fireplace or from your, furnace, just falling to the ground. Okay. There was no body part. There was no dog left.
Right. Okay.
A hole opened up in her chest, and she started folding in on herself, dissolving into herself before she became this white ash. And
it sounds like something from the X-Files.
I was insane at the moment, with rage, I didn't know what I was looking at. I was losing my mind. I took that branch, took one step forward, was 3 feet away from it, and hit it as hard as I could in the head and knocked it down. It screamed. It screamed when it got hit. I screamed. There was blood spraying all over because it broke its skull, and it fell to the ground right in front of me.
Okay. Let me just
insanity.
Yeah. It sounds absolutely crazy. Like I say, it sounds like something from the X-Files, Now, I understand that, you have two different types of people. You have fight or flight. You chose to fight, right? But
it was unconscious. It was an unconscious. I mean, it was all adrenaline.
Yeah, because I think that most people, if they saw something that size, having that amount of strength, and also some other ligament coming out of their arm,
right,
and basically doing what you've literally just described and popping into ash, I think that most people would just go into shock and probably run. Because,
right,
I understand you had some sort of knee-jerk reaction. It was like an unconscious decision but I mean, that's a dangerous thing that you chose to do, right?
Well, it wasn't by choice. It was truly by reaction. I loved my dog. My dog was like my child. And at the time, all I could think of is I had to stop this from happening.
Yeah.
And I was even calling to Susie during this whole thing, Susie, let go. And as this appendage came out, tearing her head, it all happened within 10 seconds. I mean, it was just, and I just responded to it, just out of rage, out of pure rage.
Yeah.
It's the most terrible thing I have ever witnessed.
Yeah. I recently heard this interview. I can't remember off the top of my head now who it was, but they were describing there is apparently numerous different types of alien beings, right? Extraterrestrials. I don't know what you would have called this particular one, is it a gray or something like that? But apparently you have a good gray, which are almost like protectors of some sort, and then you have the other types of greys, which are the vicious, dangerous types. So
let me just say, I was never into this before this happened. Since this happened in 1996, I have learned about all these things. I mean, I've gone around the world talking to other experiencers who have told me and shown me that this is what this was. Now, we haven't even gotten to the point where I took pictures in the forest.
I want to get there, but there's a few more questions, if you don't mind me asking, Johnathan.
No, I want you to ask anything you want.
So, I mean, and I don't want to jump the gun, but you said you saw your dog, like, basically go into ash, white ash. Did you retrieve any of that ash? Did you take it anywhere for analysis?
I took a picture of it. I took a picture of it.
Okay.
When this all happened and I hit the thing and it went to the ground, dead, I assumed, I fell into shock myself, fell down to the ground. My bowels and my bladder exploded. I was sick. I was throwing up. I was gasping for air for a long, long time. I thought I was going to die. I thought this had affected me, that something had attacked me at the same moment that I hit this thing.
And
I didn't know.
What sound was this alien making? What was it doing? Was it showing any anger in its face or anything like that?
Well, no anger in his face, but a lot of anger in tearing the backbone out of my dog. I knew it was deadly. I knew it had huge amounts of strength, but this is all afterthought. That wasn't going through my mind at the time. Really, nothing but rage was going through my mind, that it was killing my dog. And I figured it was going to kill me next.
Right.
I mean, that's what went through my head. Then I fell to the ground, got this crippling sickness, which I didn't know where that came from at all. And I felt I was going to die of this sickness because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stop gasping for breath. I was going into, hyperventilation. And again, I had completely exploded all of my bodily functions, you know, and if you can imagine that, that's terrible in itself.
Oh, of
but
course.
To be dealing with this where you're laying on the ground, I couldn't even get up. My muscle tone in my arms and legs wouldn't even let me rise up. So I laid face to face with this thing on the ground for probably close to an hour before I could crawl away.
Right.
Yes.
Did you have any energy to shout out, to cry out to somebody for help?
I couldn't cry out because I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like somebody was standing on my chest. I could not get enough air inside of me to even keep going at all.
And was there a smell, from this alien?
Well, later on, I noticed a smell, a terrible, rotten fruit or meat smell that was around this thing. And I didn't know where that was coming from, or maybe I thought it was coming from me because I was terribly soiled, without going into graphics. But it was a terrible moment. I mean, there was no trying to think my way out of it. I was, as far as my mind goes, I was dying at that moment. So I just went into a survival mode, telling myself, I've got to quit hyperventilating. I've got to slow down my breathing. I had a canteen of water in my pack, which I took off, which was about 10 feet away. I finally got enough impetus to start crawling toward that. And I wanted to get away from the body, to believe it or not. I mean, I was literally face to face with this thing with blood all over, with a hole in its head that was 2 inches wide. And I just crawled to the place my pack was and took my cameras out to get to the canteen of water and just laid there drinking some water, trying to calm down. I mean, it was the worst crippling sickness you can imagine. If I mean, this was not just, I have a tummy ache. This was gasping for breath.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a video that I made, that I shot during this process, excuse me, where you could hear me. you can hear me losing my breath and
well,
losing control.
if it's okay with you, I'd like to add some videos in between this interview, just so
yes.
people can use that as reference. You know,
Sure, sure. People say, how did you have enough nerve to, excuse me, and gumption to take a video? Well, I was an amateur photographer all my life since I was a kid. I had a 35 millimeter camera, a new roll of film. The circumstances of this were so bizarre and painful that it even is emotional now to me, because to see your dog ripped in half in front of your eyes, not 6 feet away, getting splashed by her blood, was devastating, was mortifying. Every word you can think of.
Yeah.
Did
you sense any other alien around, or was it just the one?
Just the one. But I did have some weird feelings during this, even though it was a short amount of time. I felt like there was some kind of message being thrown at me during the conflict, like it was either saying, don't touch me, or stay away from me, or I'm going to kill you. I don't know.
Like telepathy, yeah?
Yes.
Right.
And that confused me even more, because I had never dealt with anything like that before. And as I laid on the ground, I realized, okay, there's really nothing going on now, because it's dead. It stopped. It stopped moving. It stopped breathing. I've seen people lose a lot of blood. It lost a lot of blood. And this was a small being.
Yeah. And what color was the blood?
Red, just like ours.
Yeah.
Exactly like ours.
Right, okay.
I had a long time sitting there before I could move to think about, well, it's not a child with a mask. It's not a suit, that's got a human inside of it. It's a real other kind of creature.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I didn't think alien. I thought, is this some kind of a generated being that some biological laboratory has produced? That was the first thing in my mind.
Okay.
Because it had 2 arms, 2 legs, the torso, fingers, lips, 2 eyes, a skull relatively the shape of ours, just a little bit bigger, but the eyes were huge. They were huge, almond-shaped eyes. And
can you explain a little bit more about this extra arm thing that came out of its wrist? Did you say by its wrist? Like, explain in detail what that was, if you can.
Well, imagine wearing a black spandex or like a wetsuit. Okay, and imagine if some of that wetsuit just started growing out of the back of your
so
arm.
it wasn't actually a limb. It was almost like venom, like venom.
It was, or an extra appendage. And he had my dog by the back half of her mouth, like this, and this appendage grabbed the top part and her head, and then just tore it off.
So it was like the suit, right? It was something inside the suit that came out. So it wasn't skin color or the alien skin color, right?
No, it was definitely black like the suit.
So you think it may have been the suit that did that and not actually the being?
Well, again, when I was witnessing this, seeing that even blew my mind that much more, because it didn't make sense. It didn't make any reality to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it had another arm that was laying next to its side, and I thought, why didn't it just reach up? But no, the suit was on her head, pulling her jaw apart.
Okay.
And in that instant, I didn't try to reason it out. I didn't try to, figure it out. What is this? What's happening? Because I wanted to stop the action. I wanted to stop it, but it was too late. I mean, like I said, this was happening within seconds. If I would have hit him 2 seconds earlier, there's a possibility my dog would have still been alive. Okay, so this was all happening just bing, bang, boom.
Yeah.
And then it's on the ground. It's not moving. It's got a hole in its head. It's bleeding all over, and I'm laying face to face with it. Then I had time to, like I said, to rationalize a little bit and say, well, what is this? It's not a child. It's not human, but it's something living, breathing, has a mouth, has eyes, and I didn't know what it was. And my mind really didn't want to go there, to tell you the honest truth. I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And for many reasons, because I didn't want to deal with the reality that my dog was dead, that it had just been torn apart. And I couldn't rationalize it.
Yeah.
My mind would not let me go there.
Yeah. So you must have, after about an hour of you maybe getting your breath back, what happened after that once you started to, get control of yourself again?
While I was drinking the water, while I was taking out the stuff of my backpack, I started thinking, there's a sound. There's a sound in the woods here. It's kind of a low, ebbing, harmonic tone that was just kind of drifting in and out. And I thought, maybe it's a radio. Maybe somebody else, another hiker is coming. And I needed help. I wanted help, So I think I yelled out once or twice, hey, I'm over here, and nothing, nobody. And I stood up against a tree and fell down, ripped my shirt on the bark of the tree, and stood up again looking to see if there was somebody. There was nothing, but I saw something else in this moment. I saw through the trees about 75 feet away, I could see this black shape, this black pointed shape that didn't have any business in the forest. It was, and I thought, well, maybe that's a camper over there. So I crawled on my hands and knees. I'd stand up. I'd fall down. I crawled down into this little valley where this thing was. And I will describe it to you exactly as I saw it.
I've seen the video. But you carry on.
12 feet long, 2.5 feet high, and 3 feet wide. It was a black diamond, marquee diamond shape on its side. No wheels, no landing gear, no holes, no seams, no nothing. I stood up because I slipped and fell underneath it because there was a little valley there. I couldn't see it because it had ferns in it. And I got up and I put my hand on it, and it actually burned my hand like dry ice, like I was touching dry ice. And for a second, just for a second, my mind went dark, like I was inside of something, like an airplane hangar, dark black room with lights way off in the distance. And then a second later, I was, not even a second, probably a half a second, I felt like I was underneath this thing again. And I got up, I looked at it, I saw what it was, I saw what it wasn't. And because it didn't have any openings in it, it had no seams, it was just there making this humming sound. And when I touched it, the humming sound changed somewhat. Right. It became a softer sound, a more pleasant sound, just by touching it. And I ran my finger across it again, and the tone would change as I touched it.
So, but hang on. So you touched it, and then for half a second, you were in this black void of some sort with lights in the distance.
That's what I felt like.
But then you came back, and you were still touching this thing, or did you put your hand off?
Yeah, I pulled my hand back, wasn't touching it then. I kind of got up on my knees. And it was 3 feet off the ground.
So why didn't you go back into that void again once you were touching it afterwards and stroking?
Because I was scared. I was scared to death, and I was sick. You know, I was still throwing up. I was still hyperventilating.
Sorry, Johnathan, my question is, so I'm assuming that you, when touching it, made you go somewhere mentally or something, right?
Yes.
Why
I'm
didn't it happen?
assuming that.
Right.
I don't
okay.
know that.
Oh, okay.
And again, I was afraid. I was really, really afraid of all this.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so foreign, and what had happened with my dog, and again, I didn't know if I was going to be able to get myself out of the woods, because I'd fall down every 3 or 4 feet. I'd step, and it wasn't a pleasant moment. It was a very, very radical moment, and I continued to breathe so hard that I was actually throwing up blood. And I knew that this was a terrible moment, that I was probably going to die in the woods. But this thing was like marble. It was like marble or granite, like stone. It didn't echo. It didn't, I mean, I pushed on it really hard again, and it made no sound, but it was anchored to the air. It was anchored in this space.
Yeah.
It didn't move a fraction of an inch, and I'm 200 pounds, you know, and I pushed as hard as I could, but it would not move. It would not budge. And it never left that space. The whole time I was there until I left, it was always there.
I don't want to fast forward, but did you ever go back to the woods to...
Then after I had gone home, spending a couple more hours getting back to my car, the next day with my good friend, we went back because he was adamant about wanting to drag it out of the woods, wanting to get back there to take this thing. And got back there, and not a thing was out of place. The ferns that I had torn out of the ground underneath this thing before I took pictures of it seemed like they were planted back, or time had rolled back before I was there. I don't know.
What?
I don't know that.
So you managed to locate the exact same place, yeah? You managed to...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple of trees that were like a big fork.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were there. Everything was there. Everything was the same.
And not even the ash of the remains?
Gone. All of that was gone.
And the blood?
Nothing. There was nothing of anything there.
Right.
And I looked for it. I looked around. We looked for, 45 minutes to try to find if there was blood on the ground where the body had fallen. Now, what I haven't told you, and I think you know this by knowing the story, is when I was initially there in the forest, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what had happened. I was afraid that I'd murdered something and that I might be in trouble.
This is just what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you this earlier. I'm glad you said that, because I understand that you are ill and you're shaken up and you're confused, but there must have been some point of you gone, Christ, I've killed something.
Right.
Very human-like, right? Humanoid.
Right. And the first thing that went through my mind is maybe I'm going to go to jail because of this. Maybe I'm going to be in trouble. So I thought, in my mind, if I could cover it up, just cover the body up with my thermal blanket, because that's the only thing I had, which is a big, thick Mylar piece of plastic.
Yeah.
I thought, well, if I cover it up and maybe put branches on it or put rocks around it, the animals won't get to it. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, I'll do that. Well, this is a high enough elevation where there aren't loose rocks everywhere. I mean, this is the mountain.
Yeah.
It's right at the top, almost the top of the tree line. And there weren't any rocks. And I couldn't find enough brush to pile around it. So I put the thermal blanket over it, and I kind of started to scoop it up without touching. I didn't want to touch it. I did not want to touch the blood or the skin. And so I kind of put the thermal blanket up underneath it and started to kind of roll it up like a sleeping bag, like you'd roll up a sleeping bag. And I covered it up. It was rolled up, and I put my straps from my pack.
Sorry, is this when you went back there with your friend? Or was
No,
this actually
was
still
that day.
okay?
It was
Right.
that day.
Yeah.
And it was like an hour and a half into this. And I went to pick it up, and I noticed it's so light. It's extremely light. It was like 30, maybe 40 pounds at the most. And I thought, this is incredibly weird.
Yeah.
Because a child that heavy it'd be heavier.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot more weight. But there was no weight. So I thought, well, maybe it's got hollow bones, like birds. Birds have hollow bones. I didn't know. My mind was reeling, trying to figure out what to do. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I can find a place as I walk toward my Jeep where I had parked, because I had to get out of the forest. I was, it's going to start getting dark, and I knew I was in bad shape. So my mind was survival at that moment. So I just put this thing with the straps of my pack on it, and I picked up my pack with the other hand, and I slowly started to walk toward my Jeep, back down this trail, this logging road. And all of a sudden, and I mean all of a sudden, I was back where my Jeep was. There was no time there.
What?
I don't have any idea of the time. Because
Yeah.
it took me an hour to get there.
There's probably a bit of shock, I would say, maybe.
Oh, a lot of shock.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was standing next to my Jeep, and I was dumbfounded with that. And so I opened the back of the Jeep. I lifted this in, put it in the back, closed the door, went up and sat in the driver's seat for quite a while without moving, thinking, Susie is normally sitting in the seat next to me, and she's not there. She's not there. Where is she? Where's Susie? What happened? And my mind is kind of reeling, not even wanting to touch the reality that I knew would happen, kind of trying to say, oh, it must not have happened.
Yeah.
Maybe
Denial.
none of this happened.
Yeah.
And
Can I just rewind slightly, because I do
Please.
remember the footage of you, clearly in distress, out of breath, recording this UFO. I'm just going to go out there and call it a UFO, right? Because that's what it was. But
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, but I don't remember. Did you? And if you didn't, why didn't you record the being?
I did.
Oh, in the forest?
If you look at the very first scene, I'm going around with the video camera, the head, and it was in the forest. It was a bluish gray color.
Yeah.
Kind of a bluish pinkish gray, the skin color of its face.
I saw the skin color. I've seen it. Yeah, I have seen it. I just couldn't remember the part of when you recorded in the forest.
That was right at the beginning. And then I moved from there, and you do see the white ash on the ground where Susie was. You do see that for a second. Right. I did go over that. And then I ran over to where this black, I call it the obelisk, was. Floating in the air, and I tried to record it, but every time I'd get to record it, the video would distort. It would go into it distort, and I was mad. I was angry. Like, why isn't it working? And I'm actually talking out loud.
Yeah.
And trying to breathe, trying to calm down, and trying to get everything. And then I put that camera away and got out my 35 millimeter Nikon and started taking, a roll of film on everything. I took the creature, I took the obelisk floating up close, some great pictures that came out. I don't know how they came out so good, other than the equipment was really good. And it was a little bit of a dark exposure. It was shooting at about a quarter to a half a second. But it's there. Yeah. It's there. I didn't know anything would come out.
Amazing photos and videos. Obviously the video is for the time. It's quite
right.
Especially, it's a shame. Especially when you're looking at the being, because I can remember the eye almost like it's blinking, like this white eye type. It looks like it, you know. And
it actually was blinking
yeah,
because
yeah,
it wasn't dead,
I know.
which I didn't find out until the third day when it sat up in my garage in the freezer. Out of the freezer.
Hang on, let's just rewind because that's
okay.
Because I've also heard the audio as well, because that's one of the most creepiest audios I've ever heard in my life.
Well, it
right?
had a defensive scream.
Yeah.
So, and it was strong it pushed me back against the wall.
So Johnathan, I just want to start from right. Okay, so you've loaded it. You've taken the photos, you've taken the videos,
right.
you've bought it, you've done how you got to your truck so quick, but you did.
Right.
You've loaded it into your truck. You're in the car.
Up, I'm gasping for breath, but I'm saying I got to get out of here. And so I started to go down the road back toward the highway, and I realized there's a ranger station right over here. There's a right down this road, about a mile down this road. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to go down and get some help. And so I drove down there, got out of my Jeep, went up, banged on the door, and there was nobody there, nobody in the ranger station. I don't know where they were, but they weren't there. So I got back in, drank a little more water, drove another 5 miles, would stop, throw up, gasping for breath, get back in the Jeep and keep driving. I did that all the way home, back to my house. And I wanted to go to my house because it felt like home. It felt like safe, security.
Yeah.
And I drove in the carport, parked, turned the car off, and just sat there for quite a while, not thinking about anything, almost absent of thought, thinking, what am I going to do now? What do I do now? Do I bury this? Do I, who do I call? And my mind didn't want to go to any of those things. My mind had just said, don't think about it. Don't think about it. So I got out, went in my house, left it in my car, was standing in my house drinking some water, and I said, I got to get that out of my car, because if somebody stole it, I'd be in more trouble maybe. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to put it in the garage. I'm just going to lift it out, put it in the garage, which was separate from my house. It was a separate building. And which even felt better because it wasn't connected. And so I walked in the garage, and there, right in front of me, is this white old freezer that somebody had given me. And it was functional, but I really wasn't using it. It had like a tray in it with a few frozen food in it, but nothing much. And so I just picked that up, took it out, put the entire thermal blanket body in the freezer, closed the door, closed the other door, went back in my house, and went directly to the shower and stood in the shower with all my clothes on. And just started peeling off the clothes slowly and trying to just breathe and trying to calm down. I was still gasping for breath, like I couldn't get enough air in. And hyperventilation is a real thing. It can put you unconscious if you're not careful. And I was really concerned about that all the way driving home, thinking, I don't want to drive up the road. I want to get home. So I was really careful. And now I'm standing in the shower, taking off my clothes. And all I could think of is, I'm out of the forest. I'm not dying in the forest. And I thought, well, I got to call my girlfriend. I called her. She wasn't home. I left a message, said, hey, call me. I'm home. I called my best friend, Gary, somebody I had known practically through grade school, who was an architect, very successful, who lived, 3 miles from me. And I left him a message. I said, Gary, you've got to come home. You've got to call me. Susie's dead, and I'm sick. Come and help me. And that's the message I left him. And he called me back probably 15 minutes later, asking me what's going on, what's happening. I said, just come over. Just come over. And so he did, came over, came in my house, saw that I was a mess, that I was sick, said, you know, you need to go to the hospital. I said, no, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to just calm down. And he said, well, what's happened? So I told him the story as best I could. And he didn't believe me, of course.
He didn't
But
know?
he had, no, because he hadn't seen any of the evidence. He hadn't
Yeah.
seen the video. So I put the video in the player and played it, and he watched it in my house. And as he watched it, his face just drained from blood, you know, because of his disbelief also. And I don't blame him. Look, if this hadn't happened to me, if I hadn't have experienced all this, I wouldn't believe this story either. Because it's just the weirdest blanking thing I've ever could imagine.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, Johnathan, you know, what happened? What happened to Susie? You know, and I told him that story. I told him, you know, it's a step by step. And he said, oh my God, you know, you're a mess, you know, and he got me some more water, and we sat there and we talked. And finally he says, well, it doesn't matter what happened, you know, you're probably hallucinating, you know. And I said, no, I'm not. I am not.
Come and look.
And he and that's what I said.
Yeah.
I said, come to the garage. And he said, why? I said, come to the garage and I'll show you. You know? And he said, do you have Susie in the garage? I don't want to see your dead dog. I don't want. And I said, just come with me. And he came with me. We went out there. I took out the body out of the freezer. I laid it on the floor and I unwrapped it and showed him. And his head, his face was just void of all blood. He was just so dumbfounded, didn't say a word, didn't say anything. And I wrapped it back up, put it back in. Now, at that moment, it's dead. It's not moving. It's not breathing. You know, it's just dead with a big hole in its head.
Yeah.
And a piece of skin and scalp and bone flopping back and forth off of its head. The branch, when it hit its head, it must have hit it where there was another little branch protruding out from it.
Yeah.
So that acted like a knife.
Oh, like punctured him. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, that's all I can think of.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even think I hit it that hard, but I don't know how hard you have to hit a skull to break it.
Yeah.
But I swung as hard as I could.
Pretty hard, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in fact, it broke the branch when it hit.
But then again, if you said that the being was very light, you know, it could have been very like light boned, right?
That's
hollow,
right. Hollow bones, like birds have hollow bones.
Yeah.
At that moment, we went in the garage. We went from the garage back to the house. We sat on my couch. He grabbed the bottle of tequila, set it down, and we actually started drinking and talking. And he was, at that point, he was very quiet. He didn't know what to say. And I said, look, all I can do is
did he say, Johnathan, you've got an alien?
Finally, he said that.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to know that. I don't want to become that familiar with it. I was really void of wanting to get closer to what this was.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it is. You've got to realize it is. And it's an important thing. And I said, well, we probably should call the police then. He said, no, we don't want to call the police. He says, I think I can figure out who we should call. And he knew much more about this subject, this genre, than I did.
It's surprising. You know? It's surprising that he was willing to get involved.
Well, he was my really, really good friend, almost a brother, almost better than a brother.
Yeah.
And he'd been that way for so long. I mean, we did sporting events together. We did, you know, went to the movies.
Yeah.
We did, you know, ate at each other's house, you know, and we weren't kids. We had been familiar with each other for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, from when I was 14 till, you know, at this point I was like 50, you know. And so it was a long relationship through good and bad and all kinds of, you know, ups and downs. But he was truly my best friend. And so we talked about it, and he said, well, we're going to have to do something with this. We're going to have to find some people who know what to do. So that point was 6 hours into bringing it home. That was 6 hours after I brought it home. He stayed at my house and wouldn't leave me because he was worried that I was going to die because of my breathing and everything. He just wanted to protect me and stayed there, took care of me, and we both slept. He slept on the couch. I slept in my room. The next day, the first thing as he said is, I've made a list who we got to call. You know, we need to call the Air Force. We need to call the police. We need to call anybody who is familiar with this type of situation. And I said, I don't want to call anybody. Go ahead. Call whoever you want. I don't know what you're going to say, but don't bring them over to my house. You know, so he started calling saying, what if you found something in the woods?
Yeah.
You know, what if you had a body like this?
Yeah,
you know,
it's a perfect opportunity to say, I'm only calling for a friend. It's literally a friend, right?
Right, yeah. This is an imaginary situation.
Yeah.
But yet, you know, it truly wasn't. And so he did all that. He called like 5 or 6 different places. And they, of course, said, you know, hey, you know, don't pull my leg, you know, go blank yourself. You know, I mean, we heard everything from people. Nobody really wanted to deal with it. And finally, he called somebody named MUFON, Mutual UFO Network Organization. And these people in the States are somebody who takes care of this kind of stuff. Somebody that you report to if you've seen lights in the sky, or you've seen something land or something like it. Anyway,
is this like a government-funded website?
No, this is private. Totally private.
I thought so.
And he said, well, these people were very excited. I said, yeah, I bet they were, you know, because this is their whole demeanor is what to do. And he said, look, I've set up an interview for you to talk to them at a restaurant, so it's not at your house. We're going to meet them in a few hours, talk to them, and we can go develop your pictures ahead of time. So we had a photo developing private business that you could take your film in, they'd process it, kick out the pictures, and give them back to you within a couple hours. So that's what I did. Took that film for them, shoved it in. They turned around, never said a thing. Of course, they don't look at the pictures. It just comes out of a machine, you know. And I picked the pictures up, and then I went to talk to these people. And they were very nice. They were very professional, very, very excited, and said, well, I don't think you realize how important this is. You know, this is a find of a lifetime, you know. And I said, well, I don't know what to do with it. I said, I'd be happy if you guys took it off my hands. You know, I didn't tell them that it was at my house. I just said, it's in the forest. And I didn't want to give the whole thing away. I was afraid. I mean, I was very afraid.
What exactly were they expecting to get from you? Just the photos and video and the location?
Well, basically, they just said, we'd like to take some of your photos, if we can, and have them analyzed. Maybe some of your negatives, if that's possible. And the guy was flabbergasted. He was excited. He'd never seen this much evidence. I made a copy of the tape that was in the woods. So I had that, not of the whole thing, but just of a couple of minutes of it. And gave that to him and some of the photos and said, okay, we're going to call you tonight. Here's our number. You have our number. Yes, I have the number. I mean, we're going to handle this. That's what he told me. We're going to take care of this. Anyway, we went home. Time went by. They never called. I called the number, and the number said, this number is a non-working number.
Right.
So they weren't who they said they were. They took all of that evidence and ran away with it. They weren't who they said they were.
Yeah, I get you.
We called the other number, the MUFON number, in the phone book, and
so it may have been.
Said they'd never heard of it.
So what you're saying is it could have been a legitimate government pretending to be a private.
It could have been, or it was somebody who wanted to run off with the evidence so that I no longer had it. And they didn't realize that I had copies of everything.
Okay. So was there ever a time where you were handing over this information, whatever, where you thought to yourself, hang on a second, if I've got evidence of alien life, I could make a quick buck here?
I never thought about the money.
Really?
No, I never did. I always thought, I think Gary did, my friend, but I didn't, because I was still dealing with being really, really sick. I mean, I was nauseated like I had the flu, the terrible flu, even the next few days.
Yeah.
Terrible diarrhea, just terrible. And I mean, my head was killing me. It was an awful sickness.
Yeah.
But in my mind, the main thing I wanted to do was, I'm home. I want to deal with this one step at a time. Gary's taken the point on it. I felt good about that. He was very methodical, very careful. He's the one said that, we got to make copies of everything. And then we actually, the next step of this thing was, let's take some of the evidence out of here, away from your house. Let's go put it at my house. Let's go put it at somebody else's house. And I said, okay. Anyway, that day we found out that people had broken into my parents' house looking for things, but never taking anything.
Right.
Then they broke into
right?
my house, and they took some things, but not everything, just a few things. They never, as far as I'm concerned, they never went in my garage.
Well, how long after was this?
This was the second day.
Right. Okay. The second day after you contacted this group.
The second day after I brought the body home.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Now, that evening, early evening, I was sitting in my house. There was a knock on the door. I thought it was Gary. I went to open the door, and there were 3 people there. 3 dark-suited, black-suited men and 1 woman. 2 men, 1 woman. And they were very, very strange. The way they talked to me,
really,
the way their words almost sounded hypnotic, and said, "We know what you've got. We know the tragedy that you're going through. Where's your dog, Johnathan? Where's your dog now?"
What?
And
mate, that's just giving me. That's just giving me the shivers, man. That's giving me the chicken skin.
And I said, "Get the fuck out of my house. I'm calling the police." And they said, "That's okay. The police are with us." There was a police car right behind their car. And I said, "Get the blank out of my house." And I literally pushed them out of my house. And they said, "Well, we're warning you. We're trying to help you. The next people are not going to be so nice." And they, they left. They said they were from a group called the School, which made no sense to me. And of course, none of this made sense to me. And Gary wasn't there to referee this, but I just threw him out of my house, thinking,
I know this is a detail that doesn't really make much difference, but I'm just intrigued. Who spoke? Which was you said 3 men, 1 woman?
There were actually 3 of them. 2 men, 1 woman.
Okay.
Woman was short, but very mannish in figure. They were all really, really thin and quite tall. Their skin was almost white, like they'd never been in the sun. And
when you say quite tall, what's like 6 foot?
Definitely 6 feet.
Right.
Even the woman was 6 feet.
Right.
And I'm 5'10", so I know, they were taller than me.
Do they have like the Nordic alien look?
No.
Okay.
They were very articulate. Their vocabulary was very sophisticated. They were calming in the way they spoke. It was like a warning. And they were saying, you need to work with us because we're the only ones that can help you. Well, I was just angry that anybody knew anything.
Yeah.
And I was sick, and I said, look, just get out of my house. And they did. They left. And that was kind of the last time I heard from them.
Okay.
And I've asked people since, this is 30 years ago. I've asked people around the world if they've ever heard of anything like that, and a lot of people have. They've heard of this organization called the School, that are people who are basically what people say men in black.
Okay.
They're this kind.
Yeah, I'm very, very familiar with the knock on the door scenario, right?
And it was smooth. I can't tell you enough that they were so smooth and articulate and almost calming in talking with me.
Are you trying to say in a roundabout word, Johnathan, that these weren't human?
I can't say that.
Right.
I can't say that because they were human looking, they were human dressed. Their speech was, like I said, extremely articulate. But there was something different about them. Right. And I kept thinking, well, is it the clothing that I'm looking at? Because it almost when I'd look at their clothes, it would almost become blurry. And I have pretty good vision. I use glasses to read, but nothing else. But there was a pattern in their black suit that was almost a little bit hypnotic looking.
Right.
If you can imagine that. But I just think it was the whole demeanor of them that made me feel this shouldn't be. Johnathan, get them out of your house.
And the police car? Were there any officers in the police car?
There was a guy sitting in the police car right behind their car. I watched them get into their car. They made an acknowledgement to him, and the two cars drove off.
It's like you're living in a movie, man.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And it gets worse.
Okay.
It gets worse.
Okay. I'm here for the ride. Let's go.
I'm telling you, if I could have had you deal with this, I would more than happy have given it to you. Deal with.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't feel good. I made a phone call to my work. I said to my partner, whose name was Alan, I said, Alan, I'm not going to come in for a few days. I'm really kind of sick to my stomach, And he said, Johnathan, are you moving? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, there's men here like moving company men with hand trucks, and they're taking out all the file cabinets of your work. They're taking it out.
Like a removal company,
it to a truck. And I said, no, I'm not moving. Stop them. Try to stop them. And he tried to stop them, but couldn't. They took everything out of my office, everything that was on my desk, all my paper files that were 4 drawers, filing cabinet, fire file, made of cement. And there were like 4 guys doing this. And they said, we have authorization by the hospital. And they showed a piece of paper that had to be signed. And my partner just assumed that my office was being moved somewhere else. And they were adamant about it. They were not taking no for an answer. And so that's the first sign I got that something bigger was going on. I made a call to my university medical center at that point, just an anonymous call. And I said, I need to speak to Dr. Reed's office and make an appointment. And they put me on hold, which was normal. They came back on and they said, I'm sorry, we don't have a Dr. Reed employed at this facility. I said, really? And he said, well, let me check one more time. And he checked, came back on the phone. He says, no, we have nobody by that name. I'm sorry. I went and talked to the people that I worked with, the 7 people that worked in that department, which I was head of. And they said these guys came in with black suits, with black sunglasses, and said, you will say nothing about Dr. Reed. He's been involved in a felony, And if you add anything to this, you're going to be involved too. You could lose your job and or worse. So you are not to say anything about Dr. Reed. They were with one of the hospital administrators.
Right. So if you try to search for your doctor, you wouldn't be listed anywhere.
Well, this was the first time I knew that this was going on. Gary then said, they could be really, blanking up your life.
Yeah.
Your work, your scheduling. Let's check into that. So I did. I checked a few things. I found out that my accreditation at San Diego State University, my accreditation and graduation at UCLA, and my accreditation and graduation statistics at the University of Washington Medical School were gone. No sign, no listing, no anything. Listing of my employment with this facility, which was almost 16 years, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Right. But if someone asked you to prove it now, how could you do that?
Well, I have gone back since this ended, this nightmare. I've gone back. I hired lawyers who went and search out my bank records, search out my passport information. 99% of it is gone, or it's locked in a file that said it's a federal investigation and that they can't give out any information. Okay, just a minute, just listen. They said that my passport was invalidated, was destroyed, was not functional. Okay, I said to this law firm, I said, do you have any ideas? What can we do? And they said, well, let me get on the phone. Let's do, give me a week. I gave them a week. They called everybody. They said, we're gonna try to get this guy's credentials back and his life back. Okay, nothing that they tried worked. Nothing. And at the end, what they said is, we're going to put a story in the newspaper of every major newspaper in the United States that says the U.S. government won't give this guy back his passport because he had a close encounter. We're going to make it public everywhere. Okay? They called the feds. They told them that that's what we were going to do. 24 hours later, they said they would initiate returning my passport, and they did.
Oh, right.
So my passport is functional, but all the other stuff is gone. I mean, gone, eradicated, erased.
So your passport says doctor, yeah?
Yes, yes. So we took other investigators, okay, and I'm going ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, it's fine.
But you need to hear it.
Yeah.
The first place I went and spoke was a place called the International UFO Congress, and it was in Las Vegas at that time. They called me. They wanted me to be a keynote speaker. They had heard me on the radio with Art Bell. Art Bell was the one who broke this story over, 25 million listeners. They wanted me at their conference. I said, okay. I took my own security. I stayed in my room until I had to speak. We had 2 hours to speak. We ended up speaking for 4 hours, nonstop. And the people wanted me to continue because this is so detailed. It's so crazy that unless you know how nuts it was, you just can't imagine all the convolutions of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, talking to them, they ended up saying, well, you need to do a textbook investigation. Somebody needs to do this outside of yourself, Johnathan. And so what they did is they introduced me to a guy named Wendell Stevens. They introduced me to a guy named Robert O'Dean, another guy named Donald Ware, who was part of the UFO Congress, and another guy named Dan McAvoy Sr., who was a longtime investigator, worked with MUFON and all kinds of other things. And they said, let's us take this. We'll do it. We'll start from the beginning. We'll go out and interview all these people. Well, they spent 2 years interviewing people I went to school with, insurance agents, bank representatives, on and on. So they got a lot of people's testimony saying, yes, I existed. Yes, I had graduated from these schools. I mean, we got it on record. We got it on video and in writing. So we got all that.
Yeah.
And now sometimes we didn't get what we wanted. There were a lot of people that said, well, we can't do this. We've been told not to talk about you. And, you know, I didn't want to push it. I didn't want to, you know, tie up those people. So I only did what I could do. But I got enough to prove who I was, to prove that I had, in fact, gone to all these places.
Yeah.
I let investigators talk to my aunt and uncle, who I lived with, were like my parents, who had been to my graduation, who had known me all of my life. You know?
I'm sensing something here, Johnathan. Sorry. You know, you're going into, and understandably, right? You're going into a lot of detail about proving who you are, right?
Right.
And I think that, do you think that out of all of this, that is one of, or if not the most hurtful or life-changing thing you've had to deal with?
At first I'll say yes, but then I'll say something else. The reason they did it, the reason my investigators went out to this point and looked at things that were personal for me is because within a year of me coming out and being on the radio and telling that I had all this physical evidence, I had the photographs, I had the videotapes, I had DNA samples of the blood from the alien, that I had a chronometry done where they actually did a full chromosome test. And I have all that, okay? The reason my guys ended up doing all this personal stuff was because within a year, the internet was spread with negative propaganda about me, about my life, saying that I was a liar, that I was a child molester, and that I had stolen things, and I was a felon. And I mean, anything you can imagine, they wrote about. And people wrote about it saying that, you know, oh, I had been proven to be a fake. I had proven that they found ways that I invented the video and that I made the video. Look, the video has been looked at by professionals above and beyond my ability that have said, if this wasn't made by a special effects house, we don't know how it was ever made. Because in those days, you know, Photoshop didn't exist.
Yeah.
None of those online things that you can do nowadays exist. Doing the DNA analysis took a week, took 3 people to do it, hands-on. Electrophoresis of, you know, checking the blood samples and the tissue samples and the bone samples. I mean, it took professionals to do it. Now, let me tell you one more thing. I don't think you know. The guy who did the analysis was the chief head pathologist of the University of Washington Medical School.
Right.
It was somebody I knew, but wasn't a good friend, but he did this work and saying, where did you get this, Johnathan? And I said, I don't want to tell you that. I just want to tell you that I've got these samples and I want you to tell me what it is.
Okay.
You know, is it a wolf? Is it a bear? What is it? I don't know. And I said, you know, I'll give you more information he said, okay, Johnathan, well, whatever I find out is the way it's going to be. And this guy was a straight shooter, you know, head of his department, really kind of a world-renowned pathologist at the time, but a nice guy. And I gave it to him. He came back after a week and said, Johnathan, you need to come into my office because I need to talk to you about this. So I thought, okay, he's done. Probably, you know, he wants to. And I went in and he said, you know, where in the hell did you get this? He says, this is like nothing I have ever seen. There's no records of this kind of a creature. And he started calling it a creature. He said, we don't have the ability as chemists and doctors. We do not have the technology to mix chromosomes. We can't do it. It's not possible. But yet I found 46 chromosomes in this being, the same as humans have, but 9 of the pair were different. 9 of the pair were only closely related and not 100% to dolphins and sea tortoise.
What?
That's what he said. And I said, well, how could this be? And he said, because it's a new species. This is absolutely not cataloged. The blood is different than any other kind of blood. It all had nucleated blood cells, which is not the way it's supposed to be. He said some reptiles have blood like that, but he said this is definitely not a reptile.
So it's sort of like it weighs towards the idea of they never left. They're in the sea. Could be potentially.
What I ended up feeling was that it was a new species, not cataloged. But at that point, he said, Johnathan, I want to run with this. Because I did the work, my people did the work, I want to list this as a new species. So I want to publish this. And I said, that's fine. Okay, no problem. You know, and then I didn't tell him I had this in my house. I just said, you know, we can do that. That's fine. I'm giving you permission. He says, okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to run some more tests, some secondary tests on the remaining tissue. And I said, okay, that's great. Anyway, I went away, and 3 days later, somebody went in his office and shot him in the head and killed him.
What?
And then the person killed themselves in his office. Within 10 minutes, the whole bunch of federal people came in, took all of his files, all of his computers in his office, confiscated it as evidence. That's what they said. And then 20 minutes later, the police arrived. That's how fast they were there to confiscate everything.
Is this homicide documented anywhere?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It was documented in the major newspapers in Seattle. You can go back and check the name of Dr. Roger Haggett, Haggett, MD, pathologist, University of Washington Medical School. Then, about 2 weeks later, his partner, his lab partner, the other one who did this DNA work, was killed in a hiking accident where he was alone, and basically they said he fell down a mountain and broke his neck.
What was his name?
This was with Michael Wessels, Wessles. Michael Wessels, doctor, another doctor. The third one who did it is still alive. His name is Harold Chacon. He lived in Seattle. He volunteered to come and do this, to help these guys do the pathology. His name is on the records, and then they threatened him so much that he moved out of the country and now lives in Puerto Rico. But he's gone on the record. He's gone on podcasts. He's talked about all of this, saying this is what happened. This is what I went through, what he saw. And he himself said it's incredible. He's done a podcast in Spanish and in English.
So what came back from the bone sample?
That it was aerated, that it was basically hollowed out bone, but nothing like, the only thing normal that came close to being human was the design of the bone, but not the bone itself. The material of the bone was totally different.
Right. Because you said earlier that you don't know how you managed to make a hole in the head so easily, but you knew that it was hollow.
Right. But you know, I knew it was hollow because of the weight of the whole creature. When I picked it up, there was just no weight to it.
Yeah.
You know, and the only thing I could know from my learning about anatomy and is that there's only certain animals that have hollow bones, and most of them are birds.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway,
right, okay. So, I mean,
I did a physical examination of the body when he was dead in my garage on a lab table with a big light. I did a topical examination, feeling the bones, feeling the vertebrae, feeling the rib cage, the neck bones, all the muscles, identifying those muscles, very similar to human. And I wrote all that down, and it's in the book that I wrote about this.
What's the name of the book again?
The book is called Link, an Extraterrestrial Odyssey. And it's available at Amazon, I'm sorry. And right now it's an ebook only. Eventually it'll be a hard book again. But it's been out since 2000. So a lot of people around the world have read it, have seen it, have seen me. This is not a news story.
No. I mean, this is one of them.
Story.
This is one of the most famous stories out there. I know.
But it's ongoing because 3 days ago somebody pushed me down a 16-step stairway close to where I'm staying, outside in a mall, and all they said was, "Learn to shut up."
I mean, okay, so. Forgive me for asking, but...
No, I don't forgive you. I want you to ask.
I mean, what's happened in your circle of acquaintances and friends with deaths, murders, and, all this horrible things? Like, why is it that... I'll be funny. Why are you doing this interview now? Why are you still... Most people would hide away from this and go, do you know what? I don't want anyone else to get hurt. I don't want anyone...
That's what I have been saying.
And why not you also, Johnathan? Why not you?
Well, but I have done that. You have to remember, this is 30 years. For 10 years, I was out and about doing all kinds of lectures, all kinds of talks like this, and it was going nowhere. And I personally don't like the circus of wannabes that want to talk about aliens and UFOs and lights in the sky. I don't like that. That's not part of my life. So I did it. I made the case. These guys spent 2 years proving that I existed and that I had gone to college and that I've done 2 polygraphs, passed them both. They were done at 2 different law enforcement agencies. The DNA study is conclusive that it was not a human, it was not an animal, it was nothing on the spectrum. I've presented all that. That's always out there. I mean, I have all the photographs, all the still clear daylight photographs of the body, the whole body, the head, the wound. I've got a video of doing that, of showing the wound.
I want to get into that part. Yeah. Do you think that? And I don't want to, cast any shade over the, the horrible, deaths.
Go ahead.
But do you think that it could potentially have been a coincidence of this murder and
no.
You don't think so? No,
Absolutely not. This guy was a beloved doctor in the facility. He'd been there a long time. He had wife and kids. These same government people went to his house, confiscated everything from their house without asking. I mean, literally broke into his house and took everything.
Yeah.
Look, this is not a coincidence. These are people that know what they're going after. If somebody asks me, well, who do you think they are? I can pretty much tell you that it's a branch of the U.S. government, a very dark, secretive branch that wants to keep this quiet.
Why Why do you think that is?
Well, they've told me all along since the first time these people came into my house that the public isn't ready to know the truth about this. Okay? That may be true. That actually may be true.
And what do you think about the current disclosure going on at the moment? Do you think that's a fast? Do you think it's actually happening, or?
Oh, it's happening, but it's a drip, drip, drip scenario. They're not giving people what they want. I'm giving people what they want. I mean, they want to see the extraterrestrial beings. They want to see the interaction. They want to see them walk across the floor and talk to the president. They want to see all that, but they're not getting that, and they probably never will. That's the sad part. This thing called disclosure is really not disclosure. What it is a manipulation of some video that came out of some naval squadron that they were able to shoot a white dot going fast and turning and disappearing. I mean, that's not what us people want. We want to know what's really going on. I know they exist. I've seen them. I've lived with this for 30 years. This little guy, 3 days after I brought it home, sat up, started screaming at me in my garage. It was alive.
Well, let's talk about that, yeah, because that's something that when I heard the audio, it was petrifying. So we're up to basically 3 individuals, two guys, 1 lady, police car at the back. They warn you in a friendly, weird way. They've left, okay.
The next day, I was to see a guy that I worked with, another doctor from my medical institute, come over to my house, a guy I knew, guy I'd had dinner with several times. So it wasn't like it was just a passerby. It was somebody I really knew.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, Johnathan, I'll come over. I want to help you. He was very positive. Well, all of a sudden, that 3rd day, he called in the morning and said, I'm not coming. I don't want to be part of this. I don't think you should be a part of this, and hung up. I mean, rude, abrupt, absolutely not the guy I knew.
Right.
And it pissed me off.
Yeah.
And so I got up, went out to the garage, put away the folding table that I had said I was going to show the body on, and was going to put the light away that I had. And all of a sudden, I heard this scratching sound, this rubbing, scratching sound, like coming from behind the freezer. And I thought, oh, it's an old freezer. Maybe the compressor is going out. And if that's so, I'm going to have another place to put this body.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think, okay, I'll open the door. I'll look at the thermometer that's on the inside. If that thermometer is going up, then I know the freezer isn't working. So that's what I did. I walked over to it. I opened it. And this thing sat up out of the end of the thermal blanket, screaming this scream at me. So forceful that it literally forced me almost off my feet. It was so loud and so abrupt. I mean, definitely a defense mechanism, and scared the living daylights out of me. I just left the garage, left the door open, went in my house, slammed the door, and was petrified. I figured it's going to kill me now because I tried to kill it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I wouldn't blame it. I understood that. And I just thought, I hope it runs away. I hope it goes away. And I called Gary. I said, we got a bigger problem. You got to come over. You know, what? I said, just get over here. And so he drove over. 20 minutes later, I told him. He said, no way. That can't be. I've seen the wound in his head. I've seen he was dead, you know.
Yeah.
I said, I'm telling you.
And you said there was a lot of blood as well.
Yeah, go out to the garage with me right now. And he said, okay, Johnathan, I'll do that. But, you know, he just thought I was nuts. And I went out, opened the freezer lid had fallen. I opened the top of the freezer. He sat up, his head pushed the freezer up, screaming this scream. And Gary was petrified. I mean, just petrified.
Would you play the sound for us once again, please?
Yes, I will. Hold on.
Okay, here it comes. Oh my God, awful. Oh, God, that's awful.
We both ran out of there, again, leaving the door open, went in the house, and just sat there almost in silence for a long time, thinking, what in the hell is this?
How did you record it? Like, how was it?
Well, later, I set up, a couple days later, I took the recorder out with me, had it running, set it on the shelf, and was just recording whatever was there, thinking, what is it going to do? And it screamed again, but then it stopped. It sunk kind of halfway back down in the freezer and just kind of recoiled itself and was moving really slowly. And I figured, oh, it's dying, you know, because it's basic. I thought it was dead to begin with,
Yeah.
but it's moving really slow. And I thought, okay, it's on its last breath, but it kept moving. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to close the freezer, so I'm not getting near it. And I sat there for an hour while it just kind of get up and would change position and put its arm on the edge of the freezer, pull itself up and look around, and then let itself go back down.
So I'm guessing the freezer wasn't on, because that would have been like -20 or something.
Yes, the freezer was always on, and the freezer was at 0.
Oh, okay.
It was a dead 0. It was an older freezer.
Oh, okay.
You know, but yeah, it was on the whole time. Maybe the cold helped in a conducive way for healing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do not know. Now, we do know penguins live their whole life at like 50 degrees below 0. So there are animals that can survive that way.
Yeah. Well, this is why
animals.
I mentioned about, you know, potentially UFOs, you know, USOs. There's a big theory that, you know, these aliens, these UFOs are coming from the ocean, you know, potentially.
Well, I was able, this was 10 days that he was in my house, from the start of the forest to when I lost track of his body the first time. 10 days. I came home on the 9th day late, and there were vans, big trucks in my house, sitting up in the yard, taking my stuff out of my house. So I drove another 10 minutes to my friend's house, said, I got to call the police. This was before cell phones. I said, I got to call the police. There's people breaking into my house. I did. I made a report. They said, don't go back. We'll go down. We'll take care of it right away. So I stayed at my friend's house. And about 3 hours later, I drove back. No vans, no police, door wide open. All of my stuff on the inside of the house was torn apart, was ransacked, gone through. All the furniture was laying in the middle of the room in a pile. There were holes in the floor and in the walls and in the ceiling of every room. They had taken the toilet off of the floor and thrown it in the bathroom.
What?
Water spraying everywhere.
Oh, God.
Like they were looking for something.
Yeah.
They had been looking. Well, literally, we had taken all the evidence by that time out of my house. Everything at Gary's we had taken out of there. We had sent it. I sent it out of the country.
Apart from the body, because the body's still in the freezer.
Well, the body was still there, you know, and I wasn't going to mail it.
They didn't look
somewhere.
They didn't look in the freezer. Obviously
well,
not.
When I went out there, the freezer was gone. The whole freezer was gone. And they took a whole bunch of other things that didn't make any sense to me. They took a cord of wood that was all cut up, laid in a pile, you know, like for the winter to put in your fireplace.
Yeah.
And they took all that. They took fire files, big cement 4-drawer files of all my stuff from my school, my education for 15 years. They took all of that. But on the floor, I noticed something. I turned the light on, and I noticed there were wet little footprints going across the floor to the wall. Not to the window, not to a door, but to the wall, like he'd walked right through the wall. And I hoped he'd got away. At that point, I just said, I hope he's been able to escape this.
Yeah.
And a month later, he materialized in front of me in the house. the same guy, the same little gray guy that I started calling Freddy for a weird reason. And it was the same guy. He had the same markings on his skin. He had the same bone that was lifted, but it had started to heal into his head. It was the same guy. And telepathically, he was now throwing stuff in my head. He was throwing pictures of things.
Right.
He put a picture
okay, hang on.
in my head.
I want to know about these pictures, but I'm confused with the footage. There's footage I've seen is maybe I'm getting confused now with the forest, or where you recorded the forest, because where we are unwrapping the golden thing and his eyes are blinking.
Okay.
Did you take him out again?
During the second day, after I had brought the body home, I opened it up and did what I call an anatomical, look-see, our autopsy.
You did say about that, but I didn't know that was the part of when you started recording. Right, okay.
That's part of it. And I just decided I had to record this.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it with my friend Gary, who later we did another one. But this one, the one you've seen, I did by myself. I went around the body. I opened the thermal blanket. I moved his hands and his arms and his legs and his head and his neck. I looked at the wound. I had surgical gloves on. I actually opened the bone fragment from his skull. And during this time, the camcorder that I had, the little video recorder, was one of these really small ones. It's one of the first small ones they ever had. It was Nikon and Sony had gone together to create this thing. And I bought it in 1975. Or no, 1995, I'm sorry. Anyway, it wasn't perfect, but it did record. It had a viewfinder like a half-inch square. It didn't have one of these big plaques.
Yeah.
It just had a little viewfinder. And the viewfinder was black and white. So half the time, I wasn't even looking in the viewfinder. I was just holding the camera almost in front of me like this.
Yeah.
Just saying, here's this. I didn't have a tripod. I taped the video camera to my ladder. And then I did the part where I put both of my hands on the body, on the wound. And you see, all during this time, he was playing possum. He was alive. And I didn't know it because his eyes and facial muscles moved during this.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it.
Yeah, because I saw it blinking. I saw the white. Can you explain in detail? Because this is what I really, really wanted to see, the detail in this face, right? But because it was quite blurry, I could see like a purpley golden type skin, like a purpley brown skin, and also the veins going up on the neck, which was odd.
Yes.
But I was very intrigued about the eye. You said it was a very big slanted eye, but I could only see like a
when
white.
When they were open, they were big. When they were closed, it was just a slit.
Because I saw like a white eye just opening and closing like this. That's what I saw.
Exactly. He had the orbits were very similar to ours, very, very similar, except bigger. And his iris was big. Right. When he opened his eyes, normally you saw just this black, shape.
Yeah.
He may have had an inner eyelid because at one point I pulled it back and it looked like there was maybe an inner flap or an inner lacing eyelid.
Right.
That could have been. I mean, some animals have them. Alligators, crocodiles.
Yeah.
Some reptilians have them. But I did this analysis. I mean, if he was going to jump up and bite me or scream at me, he should have done it that. I had my hand in his mouth. I opened his throat.
Any teeth?
I twist. Yeah, a lot of teeth, a lot of little teeth, little sharp like fish teeth. Okay, tongue, purplish, red tongue, not real long, but adequate. But he never made an attempt during this moment to show me he was alive.
Okay.
Only after I had taped this did I show this to somebody else, and they said, "Johnathan, don't you see this?" And I said, what? See what? And I said, well, he's blinking. His facial muscles are moving when you go around the body. And I said, I know you think it's a big deal, but he was in my house. I had the body. That was a bigger deal.
Yeah. So what if it's blinking? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, but I understand that it's something that's recorded, that's evidence.
Yeah.
That it was moving.
So tell me about the suit then. What did the suit, but first of all, sorry, let me digress.
Don't apologize.
What was the texture of the skin like? Was it like ours? Was it thicker, rougher?
It was thicker, older looking, more like a pig skin.
Right.
That was real dense, real muscular. So in opening the eyelids, it was tough. It was a tough, moment to get him to open his eye, especially because he was alive, which I didn't know.
Right.
But the whole point is it was weathered and it was aged. It looked old to me. It looked like it was very old. But his skin changed in color. In the forest, it was this light bluish gray with just a little bit of a pink tone. By the time he was in the garage, in the freezer, it started to change to a brownish pinkish color. And finally, in the last few days, it was a dark bluish pinkish brown. Okay. And I just took that for the freezer. The texture of freezing something, freezing meat, it changes color.
Yeah, and also color, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so the suit, the suit, what did that resemble? In what material could you best describe it as?
Laying him down on his back on the table with lights, close-up examination, it looked like spandex. That's the best example I can tell you. But it was so tight, it was almost like it was stuck to his skin.
Right.
I couldn't pull it away from his skin.
Yeah.
So I took an X-Acto knife. You know what an X-Acto knife is? I took it and right in his chest, I was going to cut it off. I was going to attempt to cut it off. So I made an incision about 3 inches. And the second the 3 inches happened, it zipped itself closed.
What? No way. Have you got any of this material still now?
And then I did it another one. I cut it again, and it zipped itself closed. The third time I went to cut it, and it wouldn't let the knife cut it.
What?
It would not. It grabbed the knife and wouldn't, no matter how much I pulled, it wouldn't cut the fabric. So it was a self-healing nanotechnology fabric.
Yeah.
Now, 6 years later, after I've come out and said all this, written a book, put it in the book, NASA puts all this advertisement out saying they've just invented a self-healing suit for spacesuits.
Oh, really?
That closes itself and zips itself closed if it gets a rip. So if this was a hoax, and I was hoaxing all this, how did I get all this information ahead of time?
Did you mention this before NASA brought out this? Like, have you mentioned this before?
6 years.
Okay.
6 years.
You've been
later.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my book came out in 2000. It was available actually late 99. And in that first big UFO Congress event, there were 850 people, and they bought everyone we had.
Yeah.
And so, it was documented openly public at that moment.
Okay.
As far as the knowledge goes. But there's a lot of other things that I was able to know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Part of this new documentary that's coming out, called Contact in the Woods, which people need to see.
Yeah, I'll leave it in the link. I'll leave it in the description and comments.
Right. It's very different. It's not a typical documentary at all. It's more of an expose on me, the person, and maybe how screwed up I am. Maybe the PTSD shows up and shows itself. And I'm sorry for that, but I am who I am.
Yeah,
I experienced
don't apologize.
this. It changed my life. in a lot of ways, it really damaged me. But I'm here to say all I can do is tell you what happened to me, and that this is happening to a lot of other people all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one, but I'm still getting communication with this little guy. He comes back and revisits me about once a week.
Right. Okay. All right.
Other people like you, he comes to visit too. I did a podcast with a guy, and a week later, Freddie showed up at his house.
I wish you told me that before the interview.
Yeah. Well, good luck. He won't hurt you. He's curious. He's inquisitive. You probably smell him before you see him, but it's a miracle. I mean, it really is an amazing situation.
Can I just ask, because you said he started when you, because I'm going back a bit, because I want to just try to put a bow on this, right? Because he stood up.
Good luck.
He stood up, and you said he started putting images into your head. What were these images?
Images. The first images was like pain, like little flashes of when it was in the forest when I first hit him. It was almost like a picture of me swinging the branch is what I saw. And then disruption in this image, like he was in pain. It was like if we could draw what pain looked like. That's what it felt like to me. But then he put pictures of my dog running in the grass in the forest. And he may have got that out of my head, out of my memory. Okay, and replayed it to me. Okay. Because later I found out that he can do this. He can replay your own thoughts to you. Now, a lot of people have said, well, could he have just made this an entire illusion by projecting things in your head? I said, well, he could have, but the fact that I still have DNA evidence, I still have photographic evidence, I have video evidence, and I have a lot more things I haven't announced today that he could not have fooled me with.
Yeah.
The situation is valid.
Yeah.
I have validation that, other people have seen him. Other people like you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he shows up.
So where's the body now?
Well, he's with his own. He's doing his own
so it
thing.
disappeared? So once you saw it in the garage, it just disappeared then?
And he's come back. He does this all the time.
Right, okay.
Maybe I've become his pet or his study. I don't know. He has superiors.
Right.
I met some of them.
Now talk to me about the
It's insane, believe me.
I know it sounds insane. Talk to me about the bracelet that you got.
The thing that I call the link artifact.
Yeah.
Is a silver. You've got pictures. You can show pictures later of it. It's a silver bracelet-like device that's kind of cuff-looking, like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, but one day I was sitting with it at a table with my co-author, Robert Wraith, who is deceased. And I just all of a sudden picked it up and put it on my wrist like that, and it closed tight, like a vice.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it off. I was pulling and pulling, and it hurts like hell. It's got 3 really big gold needles that penetrate into your skin and into your nerves. And I could not get it off, and then all of a sudden it just popped off. It just opened on its own.
Yeah.
The metal just morphed in its own design.
Right, okay.
Now we don't have anything that can do that.
Yeah. Now, I've got to be honest with you. Now, I obviously saw your footage of the UFO hovering there. I thought that was absolutely incredible. I looked into it as much as I could with the basic knowledge of CGI and effects and things, I thought that was incredible. I saw the alien you know, uncovering it, looking into it. I saw the photos, everything, right? And I have to be 100% honest with you.
It's okay.
I saw the part of where you clamped it on, and you.
That was done at a studio.
Yeah, you disappeared, went somewhere, and came back. I got to be honest with you. That's where you lost me. I was like,
okay,
yeah, and I'm being honest.
That's all
I
right.
was like, oh, okay,
I feel the same way.
You know, I was like, I don't know. Maybe this is pushing it too far now. I don't know. Like, that's my honest opinion, and I don't mean that to be a disrespectful, because it must be frustrating.
Well, it's frustrating, but I've heard it long before you. Let me tell you. I got to reiterate what I said at the beginning. If this stuff had not have happened to me, if I had not have personally witnessed it all and had all of the evidence in my hand and been with this little guy and seen all this happen, I wouldn't believe it either. Period. I wouldn't believe it either. And I don't mind when people say, well, I just can't buy it. It's okay. It's all right. I understand. You know, I could only do what I did.
Yeah.
Maybe I made a lot of mistakes. I had a guy from an afternoon talk show call me that I had met before and say, hey, I've got a guy that canceled on me. I've got an open spot tomorrow. If you want to come and tell your story or show whatever you have, I can get you in. And I thought, okay. And I did it. I flew to Canada, up by Toronto. I took my team with me. We went in. He said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want an isolated camera on me that never stops. I don't want you to cut away. I want you to just see the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and he explained to the audience, it was live. It was done with a live audience.
Yeah.
He said, this is who this guy is. This is where he came from. I've given him the opportunity to show you what he found. So then they cut to me. I told the story, what it was, how it works, that I thought, and explained what I feel like when it does it. I mean, it's traumatic anyway. The whole process is traumatic to your body. And I did it. It happened, and that got recorded. And that's how that happened. Now there's it was like being,
blinking?
it was like being inside of a big soap bubble, a bubble of energy, bubble moving all around me. I could feel all this like static electricity going. That's what I could see. All these little, not sparks, but like a matrix of a, I don't know, you ever see what the outside of fiberglass looks like?
Yeah.
Just all those little lines and all the little fiber. Well, it looked like I was inside something that was made of that, just big enough for me. And then all of a sudden, it got really, 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 really dark. Almost, I couldn't see anything. And then like tunnel vision, and then boom, I'm inside this white room that's egg-shaped, that's round, that's probably 50 feet across and 75 feet high. I was in the middle of that all by myself. I could see my feet were on the ground, on a textured ground. I noticed I had some loose dirt that was in my shoes that was laying on the ground right there. So I know it was tangible. It wasn't an illusion. And then I looked up and I saw these two huge columns of light over the top of me, big, like they were standing on the side of the room over the top of me. They looked like angels.
Right.
They looked like undulating light, beams of light moving. And I started to say something, and in my head instantly was, you're okay. We know who you are. Don't worry. We'll take care of this. We'll take you back. And I was saying, no, I don't want to go back. I want to be here, because it was the most serene, comfortable, loving, just totally wonderful feeling. I mean, almost like feeling in the arms of your mother. If you can remember being a young kid, that's what it felt like. And I said, no, I want to be here. And they said, no, we have to send you back, but you can come back. You can come back. And then they sent me back.
Yeah.
And then boom, I was going through the transition of all this energy, and then boom, I'm sitting where I was sitting, and in pain. A lot of pain happens with this.
What I hope this doesn't come across rude or prying.
It's okay.
But what have you gained through this? What do you think?
Well, the only thing that I can really tell you that I've gained in a positive way is that I know we're not alone. I know other intelligent, highly intelligent beings exist and have technology far beyond anything we have.
Yeah.
I mean, they may be a million years advanced from us.
Yeah.
He's a geologist. He was studying the earth, the rock where I found him in the woods. That was his job. They're like worker bees. That was his only job, was being this incredibly intelligent geologist. And I took him away from that, and I believe now he can't do anything else except observe me.
So it's gone from you hating this thing of pure anger to seems like you respect and like this thing right now.
Well, I don't know that I'd say like. I'd say I respect it. I respect the fact that it didn't make this happen. It didn't cause my dog to die directly. I believe that was involuntary. I believe it was the circumstances of the moment. I've tried to talk to him about that as in many different ways over a lot of years. And it's almost like it doesn't compute to him, like he doesn't understand it.
Yeah. So you absolutely 100% believe that you're still in communication with this being. Now, like, I believe that mathematically there has to be something out there, right? It's impossible for us to be the only ones.
Mathematically, you would think so.
Yeah. But you 100%, you absolutely believe that this thing is still in contact with you, and you can communicate.
I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want him to keep coming back.
Yeah.
But he does. And he even comes back, like I said, to other people that know me, who have talked to me.
Yeah.
I mean, people that really didn't
he won't
want
be coming
it to
here.
happen to them. He might.
He won't.
Okay. But if he does, all I can say is he is gentle, he's timid, he's extremely curious, and he might not be there long. I mean, it might just be you see him in the corner and he's gone.
Yeah. I think that there's some sort of spirit, maybe, if this is possible. I think that there must be some sort of I don't want to go into this too much, really, because it's a huge, long conversation. It's quite deep. But are you religious by any chance?
I'm spiritual. I'm not religious.
Okay.
My father was Jewish. My mother was Christian.
Yeah, there's a strong belief out there that these are like fallen angels, demons, as you know.
Yes,
from your
I've
research.
heard all of that.
Yeah.
And I don't prescribe to that.
I think that, like the paranormal world, ghosts and things like that, including aliens, I think that, one, you have to be susceptible to that. Two, you have to be willing for that. And also, three, depending on your religious beliefs, that you will encounter these things. This is why I think I won't be visited by this thing, right? Because I feel and not because and I'm not saying this because of you and me are different. I'm above this or not. I just think that I feel like I'm protected by things which are that will negatively affect me in my life.
Okay.
By spiritually, almost religiously. I'm not saying I'm on this like transition at the moment of religion. Okay, I used to be somebody I didn't believe, and now I'm getting to a point of where I'm thinking, and also like my power of thought as well, and this is why I feel like I don't think it's going to happen to me.
Well, I'm like you. I didn't believe ever. I thought nothing about the supernatural in my life before this happened. But since over the last 30 years, since he comes and goes, I've seen him appear and disappear.
Yeah.
I know what he's capable of putting in my mind.
Yeah.
And I know I've learned to be able to put images in his mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of that, I have become a little more spiritual, but not where I'm, surrounded by the Holy Ghost or crying to Jesus for help. Not that kind.
Yeah.
Just where I'm more open-minded to it.
Yeah.
Because before this, I was totally closed-minded. I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have it in my mind. If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I want to tell you about what I feel," I would have ended up saying, "Well, that's great. Goodbye."
Yeah.
Because that's not a part of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
but
look,
I won't do that now.
I got to be honest with you. I am absolutely sweating, boiling in here.
I'm sorry.
No. Like I say, it is a hot day today, and in this confined room. So I'm gonna have to leave it there. But I'm telling you, this was an amazing opportunity for me.
Well, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to your audience who eventually hears and sees some of this. Like I've said from day one, it's hard for me to believe too, so I understand how people feel both ways. I'm just a guy that it happened to. Yeah. And all I can do is tell what I know of this. I don't have all the answers. I really don't. I mean, there's a lot more people that know a lot more about this than me, who I've learned from over the years, talking to them, them saying, "Oh, this experience was probably this." And I went, okay, I understand what you're saying. I just know I'm not the only one that has seen these things, that have been in their presence more than once. I think I'm the only one that has clear photographs. By the way, you can't take photographs of them while they're conscious. The only photographs I have of him is when he was unconscious, where I thought he was dead.
Wow.
So this suit may have something to do with that.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. And
thank you also
thank
you also for being so open with my skepticism in some areas,
No, it's okay, and I would tell anybody the same. If I didn't experience it, I wouldn't believe it either.
Yeah.
Because it's a wild story, and it's been a wild ride, and that's all I can do.
Yeah.
I know there's still people trying to tell me that I shouldn't tell anybody about it. There's still government people that want to throw me downstairs, like that happened the other day. And, I'm old. I'm not a young guy.
Yeah.
So one of these days, I'm probably not going to be here.
You don't look that old.
Well, thank you. My mom was Swedish. My dad was English. So good genetics.
Yeah. So what's the next plan from here then? You're going to obviously release the documentary film.
Well, the documentary was supposed to come out 2 days ago. Because of problems with the distributors, it's gotten kind of hosed up.
Oh, okay.
So it should be out. They're telling me any moment. It was supposed to be out at 12 midnight last night, and it didn't.
Right.
So maybe it'll be out at 12 midnight tonight.
Okay.
It's worth seeing. It's very different. It's really part one of probably a 3-part series.
Yeah.
This part is pretty much letting people get to know me.
Okay.
Kind of like what we've done here.
Yeah.
That I'm a normal, breathing guy that, just wish it hadn't happened in a lot of ways, but I've had to accept it. And there's nothing I could do. So.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Thank you so much for this today, and
Vice
I wish
versa.
you best of luck for the future.
Hey, God bless to you and your audience, and thank you for your time. Let's do this again.
Yeah, sure.